Okay, I get it. Texans fans, I get it. Look, on this channel, we've been talking about Texans for a long time. Really, the entire life of the channel has been a Texans channel, along with other teams. I think there was a season where all we did was Texans videos with some Browns mixed in there. And look, yes, we've opened the windows back up, but if you're new to us, we love talking about teams that generally are ignored by the national media. And so we don't cover the big market teams. So when we have this really good matchup between the Chargers and the Texans, and there's reasons for me to enjoy the Chargers. In fact, Chris, the other guy in this channel, has a Chargers channel that he loves talking about. But I found what I believe to be numbers that show that this is a very even game. It comes down, and stop me if you've heard this before, right? It comes down to turnovers and not just efficiency, but will you capitalize on the opportunities that you have been given? I feel like as a Houston Texans fan, you must be thinking to yourself throughout this season, what is going on? Watching this team win the division, become a playoff team, get a home playoff game, still must be frustrating. It still must be frustrating for you to watch because it's like, oh man, but the potential could be so much more. And then there's injuries to the wide receivers. But even when there wasn't injuries, it really wasn't living up to snuff. So here's the question that I have for you. What is your confidence level in this first round game against the Chargers? What's your confidence level? Because I'm going to try and give you a few different things that I believe should make you feel much better about your chances. All right, let me give you the first one, and then I'll go into some actual statistics for you. Number one, experience. Look, you're in year 2 with DeMeco Ryans. You're in year 2. CJ Stroud is in year 2. This team as a cohesive unit is now in year 2, all being together. The Chargers have some experienced players, but this is the first time in some time that they are a very successful team. The Chargers have been known before Harbaugh to be the team that just couldn't win the big game. They were basically the Miami Dolphins, right? Where they had a ton of talented outside talent with Keenan Allen, when you look at with Mike Williams, and they had the big arm quarterback, but they weren't winning games. Insert Jim Harbaugh, all of a sudden the efficiency is there. And they're actually outplaying the talent because they have $50 million in dead cap this year, yet somehow 30 to 50 million, somewhere in there, somehow they're still putting together a good roster that is a playoff team. So I'm telling you right now, they have a head coach who has success at the NFL level and at the collegiate level. We know that. You see him right back there, right? Like I talk about him, but don't worry. I got Nico Collins. It's all good. All right. And he is one big matchup to watch. So let's first talk about the stats. Then we're going to get into some individual matchups that I think are just massive. So you would think to yourself, if I told you, Chargers, Texans. All right, maybe the Chargers offense is better. Not really. 5 yards a game better. 4.5 to be exact. Not a ton. Oh, yeah, but the Chargers, they run the ball, right? They control the clock. They run the ball. They keep their defense off the field. You average more rushing yards, even with your offensive line doing what it does. Passing yards, they outpass, that's the thing that was amazing to me, by 6 yards a game. Look at how even these are. All right, even when you look at sacks, you have a horrible offensive line. At least they've played horrible this year. You've only given up 10 more sacks on the year. Now, that is a big difference, right? But like half a sack a game. Here's the big one. Turnovers. Turnovers, turnovers, turnovers. You have 19. They have 9. You force more, but they only have 9 turnovers. All right? Penalties, there's a little difference there, almost a penalty a game, not intense, all right? But also, when you look at all that, they turn it into 2 more points per game. The offenses are almost dead even. But then you have to look at the defense, and this is where the efficiency comes in. So here's what I'm telling you with the offense. This has the ability to be a knockdown, drag out, like just slow, crawl in the mud defensive battle. Embrace it. That's the identity of your head coach. That's okay. But There's a couple gunslingers at quarterback. That's not the right term to use for them. Herbert can be more of a gunslinger, but he's not that under Harbaugh. And C.J. Stroud isn't that either. They're just good quarterbacks. So what about the defense? Because all we hear about all year is how good this Chargers defense is. Total yards, you're better. You're better. You only give up 315 a game. So you gain 319, you give up 315. I mean, almost dead even. Rushing yards, almost dead even. Passing yards, again, they have a slight edge. Sacks, almost dead even. Like, yes, these two teams both give up a large number of sacks. They both get a large number of sacks. You both have phenomenal edge defenders and edge rushers. So we're going to talk about that. Yours are better, but they have better offensive tackles. Here's the other one. Texans, 29 turnovers forced. Chargers, only 21. So they have a plus 12 turnover margin. You are a minus or plus 12. You have a plus 10. Very, very even. Here's the one area where it's not points allowed. You're giving up 4 more points a game, even though everything up here, total yards, rushing yards, passing yards, sacks, turnovers, are so even. You're still giving up more points per game. That is the difference. So here, to me, it kind of comes down to something really, really simple. Who wins the turnover battle? I don't remember the last time I compared stats and two teams were more similar. Like, I just don't know if I can honestly remember. Like, they are shockingly similar in stats, which tells me that the advantage should go to the team that has more experience in these situations. The advantage should go to the team that is playing at home. That is you. There is reason for optimism in this, and this is a team that just needs some confidence. Look, I understand you're an offensive line away, but sometimes when we get into the playoffs, these position groups that have been scrutinized throughout the entirety of the regular season take it up a notch or two, and they become even better, and all of a sudden they're no longer a liability. And when the offensive line, if the offensive line isn't a liability, then all of a sudden this is an elite football team. If C.J. Stroud isn't running around like a chicken with his head cut off because he's got no time to throw and he's able to sit back and actually read a defense, he will dice them apart. He will. So the way I look at it comes down to a couple of things: experience, turnovers, and two very specific matchups. The first specific matchup is your edge defenders, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., who, for my money, best tandem in the league, going up against what might be the best tandem in the league for tackles, Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt for the Chargers. Who wins the battle? That is the battle to watch. If those guys consistently can get pressure on the quarterback, and by the way, stunt you very much, run some stunts when it gets into obvious third and long passing downs, bring one inside. Like, you can do different things from this. Bring more pressure off the edge from one of them so they get a one-on-one matchup, or they have to let something go. That is a huge matchup. There's another huge matchup where I think you have a decided advantage. A decided advantage. And that is, who in the world is going to guard Nico Collins? Christian Fulton is 5'11". He's their best corner right now. Tarheeb Still, all right, he's the one who has the size. He's the one, I will admit. He's 6'1", almost 200. It's still not quite enough size, but he is a 5th-round rookie out of Maryland. He is a good player. Like, when he was drafted, we were like, wow, that's an interesting pick. That's a steal, right? They picked up Cam Hart, and then they picked up Still. Still ends up being the guy who's played 521 passing downs, 264. He's been on the field constantly. I think he's healthy. I don't think he got hurt. But he's not ready to guard Nico Collins. So that's what I'm going to look at. And then here's the other thing that I've noticed. I understand your offensive line has struggled. The Chargers have started to show signs that there may not be as good against the run. All right? If you have a solid running back and a good running attack, they have been able to be exploited. If you're able to get some stuff going on the ground and then start running the play action, start getting linebackers to bite, start making it so they can't blitz as freely, then all of a sudden you open things up for C.J. Stroud. All right, these are the reasons that I think the Texans could win, even though I think everybody and their sister are picking the Chargers because they're the sexy pick, right? Like they're the one that everybody's like, ooh, they look good. Also, they're from L.A., that's why this channel does the opposite, but we're trying to give you an accurate view of it. Nobody knew what to expect last year when the Texans made the playoffs, and everybody was young and naive, and they blew out their opponent, killed them, and then they got blown out. It's time to see if they've matured enough to win a tough fought game. All right, hey, thank you so much for watching. Keep tuned in. We'll talk about it after the game. Offseason should be a blast for the Texans. A lot of good things to talk about, a lot of exciting stuff. All right, see you on the next one.